Great. Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be sharing the Lancome story, how to drive quick wins and long-term value on mobile. I'm Peter. I'm the Chief Product Officer and a founder at Mobify. We have a great webinar for you today, and my goal is to leave you with a clear idea of what you can do to win big on mobile this year. I'd like to introduce the stars of our program. Kayla Schwartz is a senior industry strategist at Salesforce Commerce Cloud, formerly Demandware. Her background includes data analysis and storytelling, and her focus is giving retailers a competitive edge by identifying new opportunities from data-driven evidence. She's been with Salesforce since 2014, and she's a graduate of Wellesley College. Kristopher Jean is the Assistant Vice President of Digital Marketing and E-commerce at Lancome. He's responsible for the strategy and execution associated with Lancome.com. Kristopher has over 10 years of experience in digital strategy, interactive marketing, and e-commerce. He joined Lancome in 2005 and has managed divisional and brand level programs based on improving KPI performance to perpetuate sustainable e-commerce growth. I know you're going to learn a lot today from Kayla and Kristopher. Today we're going to begin by covering the state of the retail industry with Kayla. Then I'll do an open Q&A with Kristopher. Your questions are welcome, so please use the Q&A button in the webinar software and ask away. Now that the formalities are done, Kayla, I invite you to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. I'm really excited to be here today to talk about the retail trends. And I'm going to start with the current state of retail and what we're seeing in the market. I'll also share some new data on personalization. And finally, we'll end with mobile and its impact on retail and ways that you can win on mobile. But before I share these findings, I want to take a step back. So this data that I'm going to share with you today is the shopping activity of 500 million shoppers making more than 1 billion visits to sites from more than 30 countries across the Salesforce Commerce Cloud. So this data represents the true shopping story today and allows us to have these conversations with you. So I want to start by talking about the shopper journey. The shopper's journey today is more complex than ever before. It's multi-channel, it's multi-device, and incentives like free shipping, click and collect, reviews, and promo codes have really made shoppers very choosy. And they're choosy about where and when and what and how they buy. And thanks to innovations in AI technology, the shopper journey will really never be the same. Innovations like smart homes and highly intelligent social channels are delivering relevant and personalized content, and it's becoming commonplace for consumers today. And these technologies are impacting how shoppers expect their buying experiences to be. So when we polled shoppers, we found that the majority of them crave those personalized experiences. And they expect them wherever they choose to shop, and they want them to be highly intelligent, relevant, and timely. But not only do shoppers want those experiences to be relevant, they want to have them anywhere. So as AI technology has evolved, so has mobile and wearable technology evolved. And it's really changed the shopper's expectations of how they interact with brands. So consumers don't want to stand on the curb and wait for a cab. They want to request one immediately when they need one. And they want to know the price up front. They want to know exactly when it will arrive. And they want that information at their fingertips. 80% of customers told us that they expect real-time interaction with companies. So as a retailer, your mobile strategy must extend to all facets of your business, from the physical store to the customer service experience, but we'll go into that a little bit later. I want to get back to those personalized experiences with our first finding, which is the impact of personalization on the customer journey. So the fundamental principle of retailing is really to connect shoppers with products, but we're seeing a lot of new factors exerting pressure on that connection. Let's take a look at what we discovered from sifting through all our data. And the first thing we found in regards to personalization was that 7% of visits include a click or a tap on a recommendation. 7% of all those millions of visits that we analyze. That is a very, very small portion. But those visits with recommendation clicks and taps drive about 24% of orders and 26% of revenue. So this data shows us just how closely linked recommendations and revenue are. So for such a tiny portion of visits to have such an outsized impact on revenue is really incredible. But unfortunately, we're seeing that many retailers and brands are burying recommendations pretty far down on the product detail page. So it's not easy for shoppers to find them, especially on mobile. And we're going to go into that a little bit later. So we drilled down a little bit more to look at what makes these shoppers really unique. And we discovered that these are your most engaged shoppers, the shoppers that use recommendations. We saw that they had about 4.5 higher add to cart rate. They viewed almost 5 times more product per visit. And probably the most compelling data point that we found is that they spend about 5 times more per visit. So across all your shoppers, these are some of your most valuable. So we know that personalization is a key part of engaging your consumers. But what we're also seeing is that mobile is the most disruptive force on retail since the onset of e-commerce. And to understand mobile's impact on retail, we have to understand its impact on digital. Over the last 2 years, shoppers have moved their shopping further and further away from computers and tablets and more towards phones. So we saw mobile traffic surpass phone traffic way back in 2015. And we are no longer waiting for mobile first to become a reality. We're living mobile first right now. And we're seeing that order share is rising quickly too, though the current share of orders does trail computers. And so there's clearly a gap, which we'll dive into in just a minute. And when we look at the incremental growth year over year of 2 major KPIs, so visits and orders, we see something just really incredible. Pretty much all of the growth of digital visits is from phones. Shoppers made fewer and fewer visits on tablets and computers year over year. And we look at orders, the story is pretty much the same, except order growth is even more aggressive than traffic growth. Phones dominate growth while tablets and computers were just a hair above flat. So what this is telling us is that your growth is coming from mobile pretty much exclusively. But I just said that mobile is a retail force. What does that mean? So we polled shoppers and we found that 72% of them reported using their phones while they were in a store. And we know what they're doing. They're researching, they're comparing prices, and they're even buying on their phones. So if physical stores are still driving the majority of your sales, mobile is actually more impactful on the store experience than it is in digital. Mobile is about retail. And when we look at the impact that mobile has on our lives, the feedback is pretty impressive. The majority of the millennial generation reports that they run their lives from their mobile phones. And I, for one, can attest to this. Everything from my security system to my baby monitor to my banking and entertainment is done from my phone. I can even check up on my son while he's at daycare through an app. And thanks to my phone, I can be connected to everything that's important to me at all times. So as a retailer, how do you win on mobile? Well, we analyzed mobile top performers and we asked, what are the patterns that top mobile performers are doing to see success? And we found 3 major themes. The first one is that they focus on findability. So we're seeing that more mobile shoppers year over year are turning to their phones to start their search. And these search sessions are very, very productive. About 27% of mobile revenue is coming from search. We also saw just how productive shoppers are who use personalization. So on mobile, you really want to focus on leading your shoppers to your products. And the first way to do that is to make sure that you don't bury your recommendations on the PDP. We saw mobile sites that place their recommendations between the product description and the reviews saw a 14% greater conversion rate and a 25% greater basket rate. You also want to make sure that you're highlighting your search bar. So we recommend to always use a bar instead of an icon. The second major area for mobile focus is to reduce friction. So we just observed orders on phones still lag behind computers. And to understand why, we really need to understand the new realities of today's shopper. So we all know that the mobile phone has become ingrained in our everyday lives. And this image of a woman waiting for her train perfectly illustrates what we all do every day. We fill those empty moments in time with our mobile devices. And what's unique about these moments is that they're fast and they're not intentional. So they're hollow moments that can get interrupted at any time. And this woman here only has a few short moments before this train shows up. So if she happens to make her way to your site, your opportunity for conversion is very narrow. And the reality is that the current checkout experience is full of friction. The average retail site has 3 pages of checkout, each with multiple form fields. The current checkout experience does not fit the modern shopper context, but there's really great news, and it comes in the form of mobile payments. And we're seeing that shoppers are turning to alternative mobile payment options. Almost a third of them are using them to make a purchase on mobile already today. And over the holidays, we saw this number creep up to over 40%. And the success rates are pretty incredible. We compared retailers who implemented a mobile wallet solution to those that didn't, and saw that these retailers saw an increase of orders 14% greater than those that didn't have a mobile wallet. Their conversion rate increases were also 2 times greater, and probably the greatest proof that these solutions are flattening the funnel. Shoppers of sites that implemented a mobile wallet solution spent 1.5 fewer minutes on site. So if you reduce checkout friction on mobile, you will see great results. And our final recommendation to win on mobile is to design your UX for mobile first. So I just spoke about how productive mobile search sessions are. You really want to make it easy for your shoppers to search by using a search bar and keeping it pinned to the top of your mobile pages. You also want to make sure that it's tappable. Your search bar should be highly visible and easy to use. Your site navigation should also be accessible from all your pages and very visible to your shopper. Make it easy for your shopper to navigate through your site and your products with as few taps as possible. And you don't want to forget to anchor your global header to the top of all your mobile pages. You also want to display refinement and sorting selections clearly and provide options to remove and reset the product list easily. And give your shoppers lots of refinement options. We found that sites with 4 or more filter attributes see a 27% higher add to cart rate and a 62% higher conversion rate. You also want to make it easy for your shoppers to get to the right information on your product detail page. So don't overlook the simple tactics like using arrows for alternate images. Believe it or not, arrows see a 23% click rate, which is the highest rate compared to dots or swatches. And finally, make your checkout easy. We already just explored the ways that mobile wallets reduce friction, but also don't overlook providing the correct default keyboard displays on your checkout. So getting a number pad instead of a full QWERTY for a credit card field is a way better experience for your shopper. So I want to wrap up today by leaving you all with 4 main takeaways. Personalization and mobile are going to be the main themes that we see as we move throughout the rest of the year. Shoppers want personalized experiences, and we see how big of an impact that it has on revenue, so don't overlook it as a major part of your overall strategy. And mobile first is now. We're living in a mobile first world, so you should be building a great mobile experience for your shoppers that's connected and fast. But as we saw, mobile shopping is still full of friction, whether it's in the checkout process or a slow mobile experience. Retailers need to focus on ways to eliminate all points of mobile friction. And finally, focus on findability for mobile. Making your mobile site easy to search and navigate and connecting your shopper to your product quickly will yield great results. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Peter.
Thanks so much, Kayla. Before we get into the questions and answers with Kristopher, you're going to need a small but important foundation of knowledge. There is a new approach to providing a great experience on the web, and it's called a progressive web app. A progressive web app addresses the needs of the modern retail customer by being fast, app-like. That is, even though it works in your browser with all your marketing campaigns, it feels to your customer just like an app they install on their phone. And finally, engaging, something that's going to bring that shopper back to you at the right moment with either a push notification that's in context, or just from the past experience that they had before, drawing them back to come and have a mobile snacking moment again on the site by visiting it at a moment when they're waiting for a train or any other moment of found time. When we combine all these things, we've got something new, the progressive web app. Mobify is a digital experience platform for powering great front-end experiences, including progressive web apps, accelerated mobile pages, native iOS and Android apps, and next-generation digital channels. It connects seamlessly into your e-commerce platform to elevate the quality of your customer experiences at every digital touchpoint. With that background, let's get started with the Lancome story. Kristopher, I'm wondering if we could begin by having you share some of the challenges and objectives that led you to look for a mobile solution.
Hello, Peter. Thank you so much for inviting me to this webinar. What I can say is two words. The challenges were traffic and conversion. We were looking at a solution to see how we can solve both of those issues. So mobile became a very dominant source of traffic, but the sessions were 1/5 as likely to convert. That's never good when you're having a ton of traffic coming to the site and you want to see how you can make a sale or interact with these customers in a way that's going to be appealing and engaging, but they're not converting at the same rate of the traffic coming. In addition, our mobile performance was slow due to the rich content. It was just very heavy, pages were not loading in time, and customers really are impatient. And if things are not right for them, they're not going to be able to get through the purchasing journey. And that leads me to my last point, which is friction. It became very heavy friction for the customer where they weren't able to get to their next step. And these things definitely were big challenges for us we want to try to solve.
Would you say that some of the optimizations that Kayla identified came into play here? Were these things that you were able to implement and that helped deliver the results that you saw?
Yeah, big time. Caleb mentioned something that was really strong for us and for any other brand, I should say, personalized experience. When you have a more personalized experience for the customer, you really want to speak to that person, how she is, where she is, in any form that we want to be able to target her. And doing those things will help get you the type of conversion you're trying to get or the type of engagement you're trying to get, regardless if it's top of the funnel or bottom of the funnel. But all of those things will not work if you don't have the right type of experience and you have a lot of friction and things are not even for them to understand or even navigate. It's not going to get you where you need to be.
So bottom line, why did you choose a progressive web app as a way to address some of these commerce pains?
Well, let me just start here. Initially, we were trying to explore a native app, but we all know that apps are expensive and without being used will end up in the app graveyard. So I actually played this game with a lot of my team members here. I challenge anyone on this call or even at home to tell me that they use every app they've ever downloaded on their phone. I want to meet that person that has used every app on their phone that they've downloaded. Because sometimes you just forget about it. And then what's also an issue is how do you maintain it? The maintenance factor is a big, big deal. And with PWA, it allowed us to bring an app-like experience to a much larger audience on the web. It was fast and intuitive, so shoppers won't run into friction and drop off like I was talking about before.
So complementary technology to progressive web apps is accelerated mobile pages. Can you tell us a little bit more about what accelerated mobile pages are doing for you and how they are working with your progressive web apps to deliver a better customer experience?
So AMP was something that was very good. And I must say first that I'm proud to say that Lancome was the first beauty brand to implement AMP. And it definitely has spoke volumes for us and how we're working with the customer. Big time is fulfilling the customer's expectation for immediacy. I am a very impatient person. I like things fast and easy and simple to use. I don't like a lot of friction. And if it gets me to where I need to go faster, that's what I like. It prevents customers from dropping off before the first page even loads. That's a huge thing. It starts the experience very fast. Like I already said, PWA ensures it stays fast, meaning the load time is for our AMP pages are 1.1 seconds. That is so huge. But really the important factor of all of this is the SEO benefits. In our organization, SEO is very huge, like in every other organization. And if it's not, you need to make sure that it's very huge. How do you get the organic traffic there? And how are you going to feed them with the right type of content immediately to get them to convert? AMP allows us to do all of these things, and we're extremely happy with how it's doing for us.
Absolutely. And for everyone who's on the line today, sort of an interesting factoid is that Google for some time has been talking about something called a mobile index split, where they would give primacy to the mobile site as the overall indicator of the quality of the search result, which means that the relevance of your mobile search result will actually impact the relevance of your desktop search result. That just started to go live yesterday. They've been talking about it for almost 18 months. You've probably heard about it before if you're in the SEO world. They have begun rolling that out to their search engine yesterday. Not every site has made the migration over, but that is happening. So just another data point for you in terms of why it's so important to get this right on SEO. Kristopher, curious how your team is using web push notifications and what are some of the benefits that you're seeing?
Well, you know, Peter, essentially it's a fast way to connect with our customers in a non-obtrusive manner. That's the easiest thing I can say, and it's very quick too. It's less noisy channel, as we kind of already have here on the slide, and it's more personalized than you have in an email. I can say in the last month, our web push campaigns have had a 10% click-through rate, and also within that, our cart abandonment push notifications, because we do a different type of push notification for different tactics, allows us to target our shoppers that drop off. The click-through rate is 17%, and the conversion rate is 5%. The beauty of all of this is if we are changing our strategy based on how we're going to target the customer. It doesn't always have to be promotional. It can be more of an awareness play. And I kind of speak to this in a sense that, you know, in peak period during holiday, we were using push notifications a lot, because when you have a lot of different campaigns and promotional offers and a lot of noise that you're giving to the customer, there could be a reason where you could just send a quick push notification just from, like I said before, from an awareness play, just to let them know that a new product is coming, or just to remind them, hey, that offer that we have for that flash sale is ending in an hour. You may want to have that last big push. And those things seem to work. Those tactics work for us. Again, it's a more personalized experience, and we can change how the messaging shows out. And you have right here, don't miss out. It's going to line in. So that's a really good way of how we're targeting and using the web push for our site.
So I'm curious, you know, how do you think about push relative to your email campaigns? Can you break down a little bit more for me when you would decide to send a push notification versus when you would decide to use an email?
So there are many factors, and I'm going to be very transparent. And if whoever your ESP is, you definitely have something called SLA and when things should be turned in. So if we need to have things turned in to our ESP in 3 days, and if we have a campaign that we know, oh, we just changed it, but we missed that SLA when we can turn things in, we have a push notification. So it's very quick where we can have something that we can easily use and is easily to manage, where we can get these types of messaging out very quickly to get what we're looking for. Now, it also helps when you want to support an email communication that just went out. Now, when the email that went out, they may have a whole thing about a promotion, a campaign that supports it. But if you have the right type of messaging, that will at least get the customer to drive you to the site where we can kind of have a consistent experience that they've probably seen in the email. If they come to the site, we can hopefully grab their attention with this little headline that we have in the push notification, and that will result in a conversion. It's all about how do we target that customer the right way at the right time. And when I say by the right time, you need to look at the metrics on your site to know when is the most traffic coming to your site. Like for instance, for us, 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is not a good time for us to be having a lot of traffic come to the site, a lot of customers converting. But we know noon, when people are going to lunch, when they should be, you know, not working or whatever they're doing, or maybe they are working, I have no idea. But at noontime, we will send a push notification, we'll have a huge amount of sales that'll come. So understand the metrics on your site, when are customers interacting with your site, and use the mechanism to get them to convert at the right time.
I think that's a really valuable insight around the different times of day and how those affect buying behavior. For example, another customer of Mobify is Debenhams, which is a large department store based in the UK. They found a real change as part of rolling out the Progressive Web app in commuting behavior, because so many commuters have connectivity troubles during their commute. For example, you know, they're based in London, they might be using the tube, which is underground, and they may or may not have signal. What they discovered was that by rolling out the Progressive Web app, they saw a real change in the behavior of their shoppers during commuting hours and times of day, with a big increase in traffic there. So it's very, very important to keep time of day in mind for a variety of technologies, push notifications and PWAs.
I definitely agree.
I'm curious about when you launched your PWA. Did you see any immediate wins that happened in the first 60 to 90 days after launch?
By far. I mean, the two things here, I definitely, as you have here on the slide, is the better customer experience. Having a good user experience will evolve into many different ways and many different wins on your site. Even if you're not trying to, I should say, even if you're really pushing for a sale where you know you want to try to increase your conversion, increase all the different key KPIs that's going to give you sustainable e-commerce growth, but you're encouraging better engagement on your website. And customers really love the new website from the experience that they are getting. It's helping them find what they're looking for better. It's helping them have a unique experience that's catered to them from a personalized way. And most importantly, another immediate win was the fast page load time. We and the company of L'Oreal, we have the fastest mobile website out of all the brand sites here in the L'Oreal, and it's only because of PWA. And that's something that we have continuously promoted and heralded. We're number one. No one can take that away from us because we have the fastest load times on our site, mobile site, because of the PWA experience. And look at this, our customers, they're telling us how much they love it. Like for instance, we have a huge loyalty business, which is Elite Rewards for Lancome. If you're not an Elite Rewards member, please join. We would definitely cater to you. And as you can see here, these customers, they love the new mobile website. The previous website wouldn't even load my rewards page, which is very huge for us. And this other customer says, definitely more organized and mobile friendly. A lot of our customers are savvy. They understand what a mobile site, how it should work for them, and they will let us know how it does not work for them. And with this mobile PWA that we've done, it definitely gave us these two immediate wins.
It's a broader question, but why is customer experience so important to Lancome? What does it do for you?
Well, we are a business that caters to everyone. And with Lancome, we want them to feel as if we have everything for them. It's a one-stop shop. Now, for Lancome.com, it is the flagship site that has everything. It has a huge portfolio of all the products. Even if you were to go to some of the department stores, it may not have every product there. But on Lancome.com, we're able to control the experience. We're able to control the experience through content and giving the customer the right type of content that's going to engage them and hopefully get them to convert on our site, or hopefully get them just to interact with certain things so they can learn. And we really want to make sure that there's no friction, it goes back to my previous point, for the customer experience. If you have a better customer experience, you can have a better customer that's loyal to your brand. You have a better customer that's going to consider your brand, all the stages of the purchase process, and they're going to literally come back. And they may not just only come back for that sale at the holiday time. They'll come back 2 to 3 times more of the year. We don't want to have a customer experience that's going to make this customer turn into a lapsed customer. And that's not what we want. We don't want a customer to just come to our site that one time and be bored and terrible and run away. So within customer experience, we listen to what our customers are saying. I don't know any of what the other customers are using in terms of their voice of customer techniques, but we have a range of reviews on our site, and customers, we listen to those reviews that they give us. And we want to make sure that what we are doing for them is catering their need every step of the way.
Do you see the customer experience as a competitive differentiator for your brand?
I definitely do, because I want to make sure that the experience they have on Lancôme.com is unparalleled, untouched. No one can really say that we have not done everything we can do for them. We learn by watching what they do. You know, there are certain things where we do a lot of testing. And with A/B testing and multivariate testing, we can see what works and what does not. And if we see that certain things are not really propelling us the way we thought based on our gut reactions, we test it and make sure it's working with how it needs to. We really want to understand how the customer feels about something, because you're not going to be loyal to a brand unless you're answering what they're trying to look for. And if you're going to continuously give them something that's going to bore them, they're not going to want to shop with you. Why would you engage with something that's never going to lead you to the right type of journey you're looking for?
Absolutely. I'm curious, you've now been live for some time with the Progressive Web app. Is it continuing to drive growth for you more than a year after launch?
We immediately saw improvement, Peter, in our mobile performance. You know, these metrics here are completely true. Our PWA has outperformed our old mobile site, which I don't even consider a site at all, because that was very terrible, across all engagement and revenue metrics. You know, shoppers that land on the site are more engaged, which leads to larger baskets, increased transactions, more revenue, happy customer. I mean, literally look at this, like the page per session, revenue, transactions, AOV, which is just huge, and the bounce rate definitely has improved. These are all true, and I definitely encourage this to please do PWA. It works for you.
Curious about that average order value in particular. Do you have thoughts on why it is that rolling out a Progressive Web app would impact average order value?
Less friction. You're putting the right type of content and transactional mechanisms in front of the customer within their window. We have definitely, and I know this is going to be another part of the presentation, but we've definitely figured out how we have the right type of content that is decoupled from desktop. And if you are putting the customer and giving them things that work for them, that's going to be easier, that they can navigate with their thumb and not try to figure out how they're going to get to the next step. You're eliminating a lot of clicks for them, and they're going to encourage them to add more items to your transaction. If I'm going to be pushing one skincare item that has just launched, I'm going to complement that with a routine that I can easily show them on their mobile device, which will encourage them to add more to their cart. In addition, we will try, and this has worked sometimes, to do mobile-only promotions, mobile-only strategies, but we'll launch something a little bit early for our mobile consumer to see how they can like it before even we go into desktop. All of our designs start with mobile first, and then we carry that to all the other iterations of the design. So AOV for me is very strong from mobile, and only because of the way that we've taken the friction out of the customer for them, and then we've given them the right type of mechanisms to encourage them to add more items to their cart.
Mm-hmm. But I said something to mention there is I think that it sounds like it's part of this increase in pages per session, which we see more behavior of being willing to experiment and click on that next page because the experience was so fast. The visitor to the site feels like it's going to be safe for them to tap on the next thing. And just connecting that to Kayla's presentation, I think what's interesting there is when it comes to things like cross promotion, so cross sell, upsell, you need that person to actually click on those recommendations, and that means that they need to trust you with their time, that you're going to do the best possible thing with that next tap that they give you on their phone. And so that's really where the performance story connects into all this, which is that you need the right recommendation, but that person also needs to feel like when they tap on that recommendation, they're going to get an experience that was worth the tap that they gave it. Yes,
and also personalized to them, that makes sense to them. And that's also going to help all of these engagements you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. How is this compared to the performance of your desktop site?
It's very interesting. So, and my team, I think they're listening in on this. We actually had something we call a beauty shaker, which is a competition within our company, and because of the PWA experience, we were a finalist in the competition. And one of the big reasons why we were a finalist because our mobile source of growth throughout 2017. The mobile share of revenue to total sales for us has increased from 13% to 20%. That is absolutely huge. The amount of more share of revenue that we're getting from mobile definitely improved with the adoption of PWA. Also, mobile outpaced desktop in revenue growth 7.5 times, fueled by greater transactions as well as the AOV, as I spoke to a little earlier. It is very, very important how this works for us, and we definitely are very proud of how it's working for us now.
So I'm curious. I mean, obviously, mobile is organically growing. More people are using their smartphones to do more in their daily lives. Do you think you would have seen this kind of growth if you hadn't rolled out accelerated mobile pages and progressive web apps?
Not to this level of speed. It definitely would have taken us, here's the thing, a lot more people were figuring out how do we do this if we were to do this in a responsive design manner. Now, it probably would have worked, but it wouldn't have worked at the pace that we have it at. There are many, and I don't want to get into the whole debate about responsive versus adaptive and all that jazz, but what is important to me is how do we create a unique experience for that customer? And by doing that, you are guaranteed to have this type of growth. You're meeting them where they are. And innovation is also a big point of that. If we're doing the innovation that we need, that's happening right now in the marketplace, and we're doing that by the immediate factor that they're going to get when they come onto the site, you're going to see all these things. And it only helped us if we had PWA.
I'm curious about the operational benefits. So what are some of the operational benefits of using the Mobify platform? How has it helped your team?
So I kind of spoke about this a little bit earlier, a unique experience to the customer, and then flexibility to the couple from desktop, which is huge. Because if you're going to have a consistent experience, if you are served an ad through a social commerce site or through any type of other type of experience that's not there on desktop, you want to have a consistent experience. Like if you're going to Facebook and you're served an ad or Instagram and you click on that ad and it brings you to the mobile site, you want to be able to have a unique experience that speaks to them as opposed to going to desktop. And additional, like quick turnaround time. We're easily able to adapt something and have it be developed and push it out to the marketplace.
That's an interesting point. I was having this conversation with the multi-billion-dollar, a representative from a multi-billion-dollar consumer electronics retailer earlier in the week. One of the things that they had observed was that they knew they were getting more traffic on mobile than on desktop, but every time they tried to become more mobile first with their current responsive approach, they were actually making their desktop conversion worse. They were faced with this dilemma, which is that do we sacrifice our present for the future, because the future is clearly where all of that mobile traffic is, or do we sacrifice our future for our present and continue to serve our visitors this compromised experience on the smartphone? And I think it seems like what you're saying here is that you don't have to choose. There's a possibility of serving both of your visitors, both desktop visitors, both mobile visitors, with the best possible experience.
That's very true. I absolutely believe that. And also within that, we need to also think about, which a lot of people don't realize until they're there, there's more work for the developers. There's more work for the creative resources when you're designing for a responsive site. You have to think about those breakpoints. And a lot of people forget about that when they don't have that skill set. And then when they get it, then they're like, oh, we have more time to do this because we didn't have to do that before. So these are things that kind of come into play.
I'm curious about what your main concerns were with rolling out the Mobify platform and how everything worked out for you.
Well, it was unknown. It was something that we have never done before, and usually people like to have something to reference, and you have to convince people. So it was unknown how we're going to be able to maintain it. How are we going to maintain something that is an app-like experience, but we know apps itself are hard to maintain. And it definitely turned out better than expected because of the quick turnaround times. But I must say, as you have here, you need to have the right development partner. You need to have the right system integrator that understands how to integrate this into your website, how to maintain it, because the code is not as simple as you think. And you need to be able to have a partner that can work through the weeds of the code, even if you're not as savvy in the technical realm, but these people are. And you need to make sure you have a right partnership with that, or you'll definitely be floating without a sail.
Thank you. I'm just curious about if you would offer any advice to retailers considering a progressive web app.
Outline your priorities. If your priority is load time, if your priority is site experience, if your priority is checkout, like for us, we needed to figure out how we're going to solve the battle with the amount of traffic coming to the site and how we're going to get those to convert. I definitely encourage you to develop an action plan and phase launches to get something live as fast as possible using the MVP approach. If you know what that means, it's minimal viable product. That way you're releasing something to your customers that brings value so that you can iterate and optimize from there.
So we're right on time here, which means that we have time for audience questions. So I'm just going to take a moment to have a look at the list, and then I'll be directing some questions towards Kayla and Kristopher. So the first question here is for Kayla, and the question is, which industries have the highest impact for recommendations? So are there particular industries where recommendations have the most impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, the impact of personalization, really, we're seeing it be applicable to all industries. We haven't officially published anything industry specific around personalization yet, but we're really seeing these numbers are applicable to everybody.
Thanks, Kayla. So we have a question here about AMP and the search indexes. So the question is, I'm not sure why AMP is helping with SEO, because Google has stated that they will not index the AMP version of the page. They will index the mobile version instead. So that's roughly correct. The Google crawler is aware of both the accelerated mobile page version and the mobile website. However, the accelerated mobile page version gets the speed priority, and that's the one that will generally replace the mobile page version in the search engine result page. So you think about how this has to work from the perspective of the Google search crawler. If Google didn't actually index accelerated mobile pages, they wouldn't really be of much benefit at all because nobody would ever find them. So they do index them. They are not considered to be separate content though. What Google has is they have several different copies of the same content. So they know that for some visitors that are on a smartphone, that they should send them to the AMP page. And accelerated mobile pages are going to give you the best speed score that you could possibly get. Keep in mind that accelerated mobile pages are actually delivered from Google's edge. And in some cases, the content of an accelerated mobile page is even preloaded into the search engine result page before a visitor taps on it. You pretty much can't get faster than that because the content could already be on the visitor's device by the time they tap on the accelerated mobile page link. So you're going to get the top possible credit from the search engine for speed with your accelerated mobile page. Now that being said, Google does have guidelines about the content matching between the accelerated mobile page and the regular mobile page. So the content needs to match with their content guidelines. Which means you can't have, you know, a mobile page that's pointing at an AMP page with totally separate content. The crawler needs to agree with you that the content is similar enough. Otherwise, that accelerated mobile page simply won't show up. But if the crawler sees that the accelerated mobile page matches the mobile page content, that's the result that they're going to give preference to in the search engine result page. The next question is for Kristopher, and the question is around the ongoing maintenance and operational costs of the progressive web app. Do you find that it has impacted in positive or negative ways the velocity of your changes, and has it increased your costs?
It definitely has not increased the cost because it's definitely, if you think about the cost compared to an app, apps can cost as much as $500,000 or even more than that. So for us, if you tie that into the amount of work that we're doing creatively and development costs, it would cost us more to develop things twice, or as I was saying before, in terms of the 3 breakpoints, the different type of creative that you need to be adding for those breakpoints. Now, the cost in have to encourage to work with PWA, it definitely is outweighed by the ROI that we get back from the customer. And because of all the traffic that we're getting to the site, it helps with the sales and it helps explain why the cost is better to maintain more operationally.
Thank you, Kristopher. Our next question is about Commerce Cloud and the mobile-first reference architecture. And the question is whether or not the mobile-first reference architecture will be providing accelerated mobile pages and progressive web apps. And so the answer is the mobile-first reference architecture is more than just the front-end technology. So mobile-first reference architecture includes a new set of controllers for how the storefront works. Mobify is compatible with the mobile-first reference architecture. We've updated our cartridge for MFRA already. The mobile-first reference architecture out of the box does not supply progressive web apps or accelerated mobile pages. It is a responsive architecture. The next question we have is asking about what some of the tools are that are ideal for personalization. And I think I'm gonna ask that question to Kayla, please.
Hi, yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of different ways to implement personalization on your site. And one of the, you know, standard ways that we see personalization is through recommendations on the product detail page or the PDP. We're also seeing some retailers pushing the boundaries with where they're using those recommendations, and they're going beyond the product detail page and even putting them in their cart, even an empty cart, as well as on the home page of their website. So they're really stepping out of the box and putting personalization in all aspects of their site, as well as through the communications that they send out to their customers. And I believe I have some data here. We're seeing that, you know, the majority of shoppers do engage with recommendations on the PDP, about 75%, but we're also seeing about 16% engaging with it on the category pages and 5% are using it in cart. So those are some really great ways to really break the boundaries of where you think you can be infusing personalization on your site.
Our next question is about payment methods. I'd like to ask this of Kristopher. So the question is, with a lot of customers opting for PayPal as payment options online, and when you have no control over the user experience after you pick PayPal, do you still feel that in the case of, you know, a payment method like PayPal or Apple Pay, that Mobify is giving you an uplift over and above what you're getting just from that payment method?
Yes, especially in how you're using it. If you're targeting it in the right way, if you're adding for instance, we're in one of our production schedules we have in queue is adding Apple Pay to the PDP. You already have Apple Pay at checkout, and it definitely helps the customer get through the experience checking out easier. The whole means of having a payment method on your site and having it in a way that can get customers to convert is to have it something that it's one touch for them. So they don't really have to fill out all these forms. And all of these payment methods need to be there to help guide the customer to check out easier. I think it's really a good thing when you have it on your mobile site and you just click on something and everything is there. But Apple Pay, we all know, you probably use Apple Pay for things that we didn't know that we're using it for. And sometimes we'll pay for something by mistake. For certain retailers, they may love that, but we try to make sure it's very easy for customers to use. So I think it's how you're using the payment methods in a way that is frictionless for the customer that's going to get you what you're looking for in terms of converting that sale.
Just to add to that, I'd observed that the purchase part of the journey is a small but important part of the journey. It doesn't help with discovery. It doesn't help with the trust that needs to be developed between yourself and the customer It doesn't help with the customer acquisition. These are all areas where Mobify plays a big role, from the accelerated mobile page experience that you get out of the search engine result page, through to the fast speed and trust that gets built by the high quality of the interactions that you have while you're viewing the product and navigating inside of the site. From a payment perspective, as Kayla's data showed, only about a third of payments today are happening with a wallet, which means that 2/3 are happening without a wallet. Wallet usage is growing, but even supporting those wallet journeys is complex, and that's something that Mobify gives you out-of-the-box components to do quickly and easily. So that payment journey, and simplifying that payment journey, 100%, you should do everything you can to optimize there. But keep in mind that that optimization is only a small part of the total span of your customer journey. The next question we have is for Kristopher again, and the question is, how did the Lancome team get the internal buy-in to move forward with this approach to mobile? And what were some of the biggest hurdles that you overcame?
Well, Peter, it really boils down to the cost of developing and managing an app versus PWA and how it relates to the ROI. If you can clearly, and for a lot of senior stakeholders that need to be convinced, money, budget, revenue, goals, that seems to talk to people who are making a lot of decisions when it comes to money. And if you can put that and delineate the difference of pros and cons because of this and how it will relate to the customer, you need to align whatever your brand's initiative is or your company's initiative, align to that particular strategy. For us, we're always trying to acquire new customers. How do we maintain the customers we have? How do we make them loyal to us? In addition, the customer is still getting an app-like experience, like I said, at half the cost. One of the biggest hurdles is, how do you get customers how do you get convinced senior stakeholders who are convinced that responsive design is the way to go versus the way that we're trying to go? And just say to them, let it be a pilot. We'll be able to experiment with this and we'll show you the results. Now, we did this and we have the fastest mobile site in the entire organization. These are things that speaks volume because you have data that can prove it. Before we didn't have data, now we are the benchmark that other people are trying to follow.
This next question is for Kayla, and the question is, the statistic of 30% of visitors use a mobile wallet. Is that all shoppers, including desktop, or is that only people buying on their phone?
Yeah, so this particular number is just for mobile buyers, so people who are buying via their phone. But we do see a high percentage of shoppers through computers or desktops that are also using a wallet-like solution to purchase. So the usability of mobile wallets extends beyond just the phone. It also extends to computers and tablets as well.
The next question is for Kristopher. How has accelerated mobile pages and web push changed your digital marketing strategies?
Well, both AMP and web push have caused us to rethink how we're targeting our customers and what the method is by doing so. How do we segment the particular offers that get the most traction? And using all of these techniques, we've thought about, okay, for instance, during peak period, like I said before, where there are multiple campaigns happening simultaneously, a simple web push is something we can quickly execute to keep the offer and the product launch in the face of the customer. It could be used as an awareness play, which is not purely promotional. So those type of tactics help us in a way that and also through time, because we don't have enough time to quickly put an email out based on something that we're reacting. Because we're in a business, which is so great about the business that we're in terms of digital and the internet, we are able to quickly adapt to what's happening on the site. If an email had launched with the wrong type of messaging, we can easily send a push notification to correct what we've done. If we want to at least get another boost to something that's happening, or like I said before, an offer is going to be ending in the next hour, send a push notification to all of our subscribers, and we'll get another little push in support of sales. Use it in the means that you know it's going to work for you and for your customer. And with AMP, having your site fully indexed by AMP will bring the right type of qualified traffic quickly to our site. And we're always trying to find a new means to organically find the right type of growth by having customers come to our site and have the nice type of sales that follow it.
We have time for one more question, and this question is for Kristopher again. The question is, what's next? How are you planning on taking your accelerated mobile pages, your present web app, your web push notifications to the next level?
All of this involves on creating a personalized experience for the customer. So we're constantly trying to stay one step ahead when it comes to innovation, using app, PWA, web push, all the different mechanisms we talked about before as a means to support innovation that deals with voice commerce, virtual try-on tools, or anything within the social sphere. That is all the things we're trying to do, but the end goal is to increase the share in revenue and in conversion and the user experience for our customer, and giving them something that they're looking for when they want it and how they want it.
Thanks so much for joining today, everybody. So you know, we will be sending out a copy of this webinar in the next 24 hours. So you will receive a link to view this webinar, so you can go back and refer to it at any time. I hope that you've enjoyed the content today. Welcome your feedback. You can reach us anytime at hello@mobify.com, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.